Hello and welcome to the Common Sense channel. I'm sure you will agree that common sense is important. The question is, how important is it? If you subscribe to our channel and follow us on this journey, you will discover that common sense is far superior to academics. I will be conducting a series of interviews and discussion with Devon Morgan, who is a writer and researcher. Today's topic is food and diseases, three unhealthy eating habits that should be common sense. So, greetings, Brother Devon.
Greetings, Brother Tarek. Just let me just point out briefly that common sense is not just about health. There are a few, there's many other topics we'll be covering. Just let me give you a few. Black culture, do we have a culture? Resisting psychological warfare, what should a black child know by age 14? Mental slavery and how to overcome it. Yeah, those are a few that would be
Okay.
covered.
Okay. So, why do people often say common sense is not common?
Okay, the question is why did we call it common sense in the first place if it's not common? It was called common sense because at some point in our history we decided it would be best to have a reliable common standard to communicate and understand life and people. And logic, that is, critical thinking, was chosen to be the most reliable tool. However, critical thinking requires facts, and we do not have a culture that demands that we all gather facts and apply them logically. Nor do we have a widespread school system that teaches critical thinking. So, because we are emotional beings, when we do not have facts, most of our decisions tend to be driven by our emotions. Unfortunately, in a complicated world, our emotions are not adequate to come to the right conclusion. So, to successfully navigate this complicated world, we should get into the habit of getting facts and applying them logically, which is why this channel is here. Facts used logically is supposed to be our quote unquote common language. Unfortunately, this is not the case. There is a basic common sense formula that can be used to understand any subject. Here it is. All men are mortal, that's a fact. Devon is a man, that's also a fact. Therefore, Devon is mortal. The unavoidable conclusion from this simple formula.
Okay, so before you explain three basic unhealthy eating habits, what can you tell us about food and diseases?
Right. First, the most important purpose for knowledge and intelligence should be survival. If we don't know how to survive, what purpose do our knowledge and intelligence serve? Now, according to a Google search, a headline reads, new study finds poor diet kills more people globally than tobacco and high blood pressure. One aspect of poor diet is not eating enough fruits and vegetables. Another Google search reveals four highest nutrition-based death rates in 2017, and they were: first, cardiovascular disease, which is heart disease, was the leading cause of death of diet-related deaths. And the first figure they give here is 9,497,300. And there's a separate figure of 200, the staggering 207.2 million deaths. And this figure is related to people who have lived a long time with the disease. Not quite sure why they see the need to divide the two figures. The next one is cancers, 913,100 deaths, and those who have lived with it for a long time, 20.2 million deaths. Next is diabetes, 338,700 deaths, and those who have lived with it for a long time, 23.7 million deaths. Next is kidney diseases, 136,600 deaths, and those who have lived with it for a long time, 3.4 million deaths.
Okay, tell us about the first unhealthy eating habit that we should avoid.
Well, they are easy to avoid and they're also easy not to avoid because habits are often very hard to break. But the first basic but critical thing we need to know about healthy eating that should be common sense or common knowledge is Do not eat and drink at the same time. Ideally, we should drink before or after food is digested. If it's water, then it's, maybe a few minutes after you drink the water, and you can go ahead, and because water doesn't stay in the stomach, provided there's no food in there already. So we should basically not eat and drink at the same time, and just before we should do that. We should drink.
Okay. So why is this a problem?
Well, it disrupts the digestion process. It reduces the effectiveness of enzymes to digest the food. The worst thing is to actually have alcohol with meals. Now, here's a quote that I suggest that you Google and read further on. Quote, while alcohol sources contain calories, the calories from alcohol do not come packaged with additional nutrients that help our bodies function effectively. And the most important part of the quote goes, and because alcohol is technically a toxin, meaning poison, our bodies will always prioritize the breakdown of alcohol over food, delaying or decreasing the availability of nutrients. So basically, it's saying that the body is prioritizing dealing with this toxic substance, and therefore it neglects digesting the food. So generally, when we eat and drink at the same time, we end up eating more food because the food was not digested properly. Therefore, we often feel hungry. So we are overfed basically and undernourished. Disruption causes the body to produce more enzymes to digest the food. Therefore, it takes more energy to digest the food. So we in effect we end up using more energy to digest the food than what we get out of the food.
Okay, I see. So why shouldn't we eat protein, meat substitute, and carbohydrate, rice or potato or flour in the same meal?
Firstly, I recommend that our audience research the topic food combining. That's the heading of this topic. There's also books with that title. This habit is the reason people in some countries have what is known as a siesta. That is, they take a nap after every midday meal because they basically feel tired or drowsy, so they need to go and take a nap. In Jamaica, we call this niggeritis, which suggests that this is it's a universal phenomenon. It's not just restricted to one part of the world. It's to do with the science of the body. It doesn't make sense that we should feel drowsy after eating. Food should give us energy.
So why does drowsiness occur after such meal or meals?
This have everything to do with the way the body functions scientifically in terms of digestion. It starts in the mouth with saliva, and the saliva breaks down carbohydrate only. It doesn't work on protein. The saliva is alkaline. The chemical composition of it is alkaline. The enzyme that digests things like protein is in the stomach, and it's acidic. It's called pepsin. And it's acidic. So when these substances don't work, don't is not compatible with each other scientifically. So they neutralize each other and cause the body to produce more acid to try and break down the protein because that's what it's trying to do. And then the alkaline that's there, they fight with each other and neutralize each other, and the body keep producing more acid, and that's sapping the body's energy. So hence the tiredness, right? So the solution to avoid this experience, this body sapping habit that we have, energy sapping habit, is to eat meat with vegetables, if you're into eating meat and all that, and eat rice and potatoes with vegetables. This will save us that experience.
Okay, that's yeah. So why should we only eat fruits on an empty stomach, which is usually in the morning?
Firstly, fruits are easily digested. Don't spend no time in the stomach. Once we eat them, they should spend very little time in the stomach. They should pass quickly into our intestines and get digested there, and then absorb into our bloodstream, and our body will extract the energy quite quickly. Now, if the stomach has food in it, as I described just a minute ago, the food cannot pass quickly. It's going to sit on top there, and it's going to sit on there, sits on the food, and the heat and acid from the stomach will cause the food to rot and ferment and turn to acid. This process produces gas and causes bloating. And this process basically destroys the nutrients of the food. These are all things that should be common sense or common knowledge. Now, if we do have all of these three, that's the three that we've mentioned in this episode. The cumulative effect of these habits saps the body's energy. If we do that daily, several times a day, weekly, monthly, year, and a lifetime, we should not be surprised if we have health problems. And that can lead to serious illness and obviously death. I mean, one of the things we can observe in terms of the fact, in terms of abnormality, in terms of the human function, is the fact that even very athletic people, like people into football, they get to 30 and they start losing energy. They're not as fast as before. And that's about a third of the potential human lifespan. Humans should be able to live comfortably to 100 and beyond. And the fact that we run out of energy so soon suggests that we're doing a lot of things wrong. So yeah, that's basically what it is we are dealing with here. Now, a final point about our general health. Sometimes our body gives us warning of poor health. For example, if you're a man and your stomach starts to get bigger, you look down and you're struggling to see your instrument. You visit your doctor, who assured you that you're not pregnant. View this as a flashing yellow light for you to check your nutrition. If it gets so big you can't see your instrument at all, this is a flashing red light. Alarm bells are ringing. This is when you turn on the siren. It's an emergency. You need to correct your diet and lifestyle immediately.
Okay, so I'd like to thank Brother Devon for a wealth of common sense knowledge he has left us with in this episode. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.